Defenses continue to win fantasy football managers their weeks on a weekly, consistent basis so far this season, especially if you are streaming defenses with me here at the Face Off Sports Network. We have now identified a defense that's finished inside the top three, that's 25% owned or less every single week so far this season. The Jacksonville Jaguars, right now at number two, pending Monday Night Football. They were just 5% owned. And that was a defense last week. If you paid attention to the video, I said this is a deeper play. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I had the Jags top 10, but I did have them in the top half of my rankings. I liked them last week. We stuck to the formula and it rewarded us. We're going to continue to do the same here on today's video. I do also want to point out our other two streamers, the Chargers and the Patriots, also finished inside the top 10. We had the Patriots at 7, we had the Chargers at 10. And every single week, two of our three streamers have finished inside the top 8. So we're looking to continue to carry that momentum, turn the page to week number 5. Let's get into it. The Browns being my favorite streamer on the week may come as a surprise. They're taking on the Minnesota Vikings, 3.2% rostered across fantasy formats. They came off a game against the Lions, and I'm sure a lot of fantasy managers dropped them. And I'm sure a lot of fantasy managers are not looking at the Vikings as a matchup where, this is one that you'd want to circle and hold the defense for. And the Browns, I think, match up really well in this one here, right? You have the fourth lowest team total in this matchup. The Vikings team total wise, number 4 in terms of the lowest in this slate of games for week 5. Now, it is an international game. We get the fake home team here. Technically, we get a home team in the Browns, but it is international. They are playing in England. But these international games, points scored, offenses tend to be sloppy in these games. And this Vikings offense, while they had some flashes here and there because they have talented players, I don't know that they match up very well against the Browns when I dug into this matchup. Right now, Carson Wentz, through at least the two games that he's played, he's been sacked 9 times. And he just played a Steelers defense that has not really been like top of the NFL in terms of getting to the quarterback. And the Steelers sacked Carson Wentz 6 times last week. 6 times. And Carson Wentz has, I mean, he's got the interceptions as well. So this is a player in Carson Wentz that's had issues dealing with pressure the first 2 weeks of the season. And I think Myles Garrett could absolutely wreck this game. Browns are 6th in the NFL right now in quarterback pressure percentage on the year at 39.2%. And Browns defense, if you look at them here on the EPA chart, they're the 9th defense when it comes to EPA so far this year. They're actually 3rd best in rush EPA. And so, the one benefit that Wentz has had is Jordan Mason has looked pretty solid, and that run game has just looked solid. They've gotten some good, solid work with their running backs. But this is a defense that's going to force you to throw the football, right? They're clogging up run lanes. They have not really given up much when it comes to running backs. And so I expect that to continue. And if that means that Carson Wentz is going to have more opportunities with the ball in his hands, I like the Browns' chances to fluster him and give him some issues. Now, I'm not sitting here going to tell you that the Vikings aren't going to score points, right? But I think the ceiling is the highest for the 3 defenses we're going to talk about today. And a couple more nuggets on this, right? You obviously have the Vikings who are traveling from Dublin to London. So they're going to be a little bit more probably acclimated to everything, where the Browns are going to have to make that farther trek. But ultimately, I like this matchup a lot. I don't think a lot of fantasy analysts are going to have them ranked high, but this is a defense that I'm going to have inside my top 10 when you check out the rankings at the end of this video. I really, really like the Browns. But if you're looking for a safer play with maybe not as much ceiling as the Browns, but a good, solid ceiling, it's going to be my next play in the Cardinals taking on the Tennessee Titans, 19.1% rostered across fantasy formats. And this is a 15.5 team total for the Titans. We get a home team and an egregiously low team total. 15.5 is so bad, but it's for right reasons. This offense, 12.8 points per game, the lowest in the NFL right now. And Cam Ward has been able to limit mistakes when it comes to interceptions, but they've taken a lot of sacks. And this offense right now, 32nd when it comes to EPA on the season, right? They're the worst offense from an efficiency standpoint, and it's not a surprise. They also have the lowest yards per game at 210 this year. I mean, they're not even cracking 250. Like, that's just really, really bad. And also, this Titans team right now is fourth when it comes to points allowed to opposing fantasy defenses. So they're giving us a really, really strong floor. So I like what they're going to give us when it comes to the floor. The ceiling might not be as high, but this card, and the reason I say that is because the Cardinals defense is a middle of the pack defense, in my opinion. They've played some really, really bad offenses so far this year, and they're middle of the pack defensively. But Titans right now, second highest when it comes to quarterback pressure allowed in terms of the quarterback pressure percentage. And they've given up 17 sacks, second in the NFL. So I think the sacks will be there. The turnovers might not be, but we get a home team with a really low point total and a very high sack number. This defense might be ranked higher in my overall rankings, but I like the Browns as my number one streamer if you are going for ceiling. So you'll see, I'm going to, that's more of a tease. You'll see who gets ranked higher at the end of the video. But digging into this a little bit more, Cardinals defense right now, 33.7% when it comes to quarterback pressure percentage. That's 18th in the NFL. They're not taking the ball away at a very high rate, 15th when it comes to takeaways, but fifth in terms of points per game allowed this year at 18.5. They've played some pretty bad offenses so far, and they've taken advantage of it, right? They're not scoring defensively at a very high rate in fantasy right now, but they're not allowing a ton of points. So they're giving us a very, very high floor. And we're already getting a high floor with the implied point total, with the sacks, and the fact that they're a home team. So all of that raises the floor for this Cardinals defense. It's a middle of the pack defense, as I said, but let's see if they can capitalize on this matchup. I don't think I have no concerns about the floor. I don't think I don't think that they fall flat on their face. They might not have that ceiling pop game that we might want from this defense, but they're not going to just fall flat on their faces and give you, 0 points on the week or 2 points like some other defenses. Like, it's pretty hard to do against this Titans team, who's been pretty bad, and they're traveling on the road. So I like the Cardinals in this matchup. And then we're going to go with a deeper play. And it's back-to-back weeks with this same team with a deep play, but it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. The number one fantasy defense on the season is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a tough matchup when you think about the Chiefs, right? But when you dig a little bit deeper, I think they match up pretty well. They're playing at home against the Chiefs, so we get a home team. Now, we don't get a very low point total. It's 24.5. So that point total for the team is pretty risky, right? And this is a team in the Jaguars that are not they're sorry, this is a team in the Chiefs that are not, turning the ball over, taking a bunch of sacks, right? They did have a little bit of a coming out party against the Ravens, but that's a bad defense right now. I mean, I thought the Ravens defense was going to be improved with that secondary, but the secondary, it looks like a mess over there. They're just having some issues. But when we talk about the Jaguars right now, this defense, second when it comes to EPA on the season. They have been very, very good and it shows, right? They're second best when it comes to EPA versus the pass. And why that is important is I think ultimately the Chiefs are going to have to run the football to win this game. Now, that sounds crazy because they have Patrick Mahomes, but the reason I say that is I think they're going to have to run the ball efficiently and effectively. And, that's where the Jaguars are susceptible right now. 22nd when it comes to rush EPA. And that's not a strength for Kansas City either. So it might be weakness on weakness, right? And again, Patrick Mahomes is going to make plays. Xavier Worthy inserted into the lineup, looked very, very good this week. And that offense should get better now that he is back. That is undeniable, right? That's definitely going to happen. And we'll see. Maybe this Jaguars defense comes down to earth a little bit, but It's the number one fantasy defense on the year. They're just 5.9% rostered across fantasy formats. They are a home team. I think they match up against this passing offense very, very well. They've done a very good job, and they're taking the ball away. The concern with the Chiefs is they're not turning the ball over and they're not taking a lot of sacks. Chiefs right now 29th when it comes to quarterback pressure percentage, 26.4% pressure. That offensive line has done a really, really nice job at keeping Mahomes upright and the pressure off of him. And it's a young offensive line. We'll see if they can continue this momentum, but I like the Jaguars in this matchup. They're my third favorite defense to stream on the week. And they're a deeper play. I'm going to say that because I think it's important to note that's how I view them. They're probably going to be somewhere in the middle area for my rankings that you'll see, and I'm about to take you over there right now. So let's go ahead and take over and take a look at my defensive rankings. At number one, in tier number one, we have the Detroit Lions who take on the Cincinnati Bengals in this matchup. And it is an away team, but they are my number one defense on the week. This is a defense that's been playing really, really good so far to start the season. And implied point total in this matchup, Cincinnati Bengals 20.5. Detroit on the road, 8.5 point favorites. Vegas and the bettors think that this is going to be an absolute throttling, and it would not surprise me as we've seen the Bengals so far not able to take care of the football and an inferior quarterback compared to Jared Goff with Jake Browning back there. So I like them at number one a lot this week. Then at number two, we have the Arizona Cardinals, who we talked about before already. So I don't need to dig too much into this matchup, but they take on the Tennessee Titans. This is a matchup where I I had the Arizona Cardinals ranked at 2 ahead of the Browns just because I think they are the safer play with really solid upside. But I also think the Browns have a higher ceiling, but they are a little bit more risky compared to, the Arizona Cardinals. Then at number 3, we have the Seattle Seahawks. And this is an offense in the Seahawks a defense in the Seahawks that's just been really, really good. They take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but we get a home team in this matchup at number 3. And Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're dealing with some injuries so far. It's early in the week, but Todd Bowles said there's a number of MRIs that they're conducting right now for players on this team. This is a banged up offense at the moment that, took a little bit of time to get going against the Philadelphia Eagles. And Seattle defense, I don't know if there's a possibility there might not be a hotter defense in football. Moving on to the Minnesota Vikings and this Cleveland Browns. I'll talk about both of these teams because they play each other. Vikings at number 4. Look, Vikings did not get off the bus. It was a tough match or a tough game for that defense. Aaron Rodgers got out the ball very quickly, but they didn't really have a ton of yards, the Steelers. It was really just the fact that the Vikings did not generate turnovers, didn't get to the quarterback. That's what really killed them in this matchup. And they gave up a lot of big plays. And they're usually a ball hawking unit. They take on Joe Flacco, who has looked like a disaster to start the season. And maybe with the Vikings again, talked about it before, maybe with them being already overseas and the fact that the travel won't be as much for them to get from, Ireland to London, maybe they're a little more acclimated. Then we talked about the Browns. I don't need to go too much into that, but I like both of these defenses. I do have the Vikings ahead of the Browns just because the Browns offense is just that much worse. But I like both of these defenses in this matchup. Then moving on to number 2, I have the Indianapolis Colts here at number 6, and they take on the Las Vegas Raiders. Colts defense has been pretty solid. They're getting healthy at the right time. They take on a Raiders team that's turning the ball over a ton this season. And ultimately, Raiders implied point total 21, 6.5 point dogs are the Raiders. Geno Smith has been abysmal for a couple of games this year so far, and he's turned the football over. Ashton Genty is the biggest concern here. If the Colts defense can stop him, I feel really good about them in this matchup just because of the sacks and the turnovers. Then you have the Los Angeles Chargers at number 7. Keep in mind, this is with an asterisk. This is depending on if Jaden Daniels is going to play or not. The fact that Daniels didn't play last week, I'm just going to assume with 2 weeks missed so far that he's not going to play this week, and then proceed in the adjustments as they happen. But I just think that Washington's offense hasn't been great. And even when you look at the Chargers, they still got to the quarterback a ton last week. They were able to have a solid week. They finished top 10. We thought maybe they would finish higher against the Giants, but I mean, they still got to the quarterback a ton in that matchup. Then you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who we talked about already, and I have them here at number 8. I have them pretty high. I know it feels maybe risky to some, but I just think that they match up really well against the Kansas City Chiefs. They are playing at home. They're generating pressure. And this is a defense in the Jaguars. 3 takeaways every single game so far this year. So they're taking the ball away. They're number 1 defense in fantasy so far, and I'll have them as such. And they gave us a special teams touchdown. So that's important. Then we'll take a look here at the Rams. Rams, in this matchup against San Francisco, it's not a juicy matchup for the Rams, but we do get a home team, a good defense. They've been playing well so far. And, the 49ers with Brock Purdy doesn't look super healthy. He had a tough game last week. We'll see if George Kittle returns. That might change things. If Kittle is back, maybe the Rams will slide back a little bit, but there's not a ton of very good defenses this week. We have teams on buys, and as the buys start to come, streaming is going to become more and more important. Listening to the advice that I provide is going to become more and more important because there's going to be less options out there. And so I'm going to do my best to help navigate through that, but that's why I have the Rams here at number 10 because it's a good defense. We'll see, if the 49ers, can get healthy with Kittle coming back, but the 49ers just gave up a number 2 performance to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Ravens here at 11, and this is tough because the Ravens, I went back and forth with them. They're taking on the Houston Texans, but we do get a home team with the Ravens here. And I think after that embarrassing loss to the Kansas City Chiefs last week, I'm trying to maybe will them here to having a good performance, but they're playing a Texans unit that outside of last week against Titans has been absolutely terrible on offense this year, and they're still not playing very well. So I think the Ravens could have a bounce back. I like them just outside the top 10. It's a possibility they slide into the top 10 depending on what some of the injury reports happen throughout the week. Then you have the Denver Broncos here at number 12. Oh, you know what? I just realized I didn't talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, but I'll talk about them with the Broncos here. Philadelphia, I'll go first since they're 9, and I skipped over them. But the Eagles here at number 9, they take on a Broncos team that not giving up a lot of sacks, Denver, but they are at home. It's a good defense. The Eagles have blocked field goals, and if you get points on that, most do for special teams. You're getting points for back-to-back weeks where they've blocked a field goal and they scored touchdowns on them. So the special teams unit is contributing, and Denver's special teams unit has been one of the worst in football this year. So it would not surprise me if we get some love from the Eagles special teams. And then forgetting about all that too, I mean, it's just a good defensive unit against an offense for the Broncos that runs very streaky, very hot and cold. And it's going to be a tough matchup for them on the road. Then you have Denver at number 12, and they take on the Eagles on the road too, but a very, very good defense. I worry mostly about the rushing defense for Denver, but this offensive line has struggled for the Eagles so far, and Denver's generating a ton of pressure. I mean, this is arguably the best pass rush in the NFL right now, ultimately they're taking on an offense that's not really throwing the football a ton. It's very vanilla what they're running right now with Jalen Hurts, who didn't have a completion in the second half of this year. So we'll see if Saquon Barkley gets going. I might have a little bit of concerns for the Broncos, but ultimately I have them ranked decently high here at number 12. Then moving on to tier number 3. Buffalo Bills here at 13, taking on the New England Patriots. And this is a home team, and New England has played very, very solid this year, I would say. I think that's pretty fair, but it's not the highest point total for them. They're projected at 20.5 is the point total. 8.5 dogs are the New England Patriots. And this is a Bills defense that's still missing players. We'll see if Ed Oliver, Matt Milano come back. That should give them a lift. But so far, so good for Drake May and company. So that's why I couldn't put the Bills much higher. The Bills have just like let us down in 2 weeks in a row in good spots. And so I'm happy to be wrong. If the Bills end up having a good week, so be it. But right now, the way they're playing, it's hard to move them up much higher. Then I have the Saints here at 14. Saints taking on the New York Giants here. And, I could be completely wrong. It could be flipped. It could be the Giants that come out better than the Saints in this matchup. But I took the Saints over the Giants in this matchup here. Saints are at home, so that was a little bit of a deciding factor for me when going between which one, because they're both playing bad offenses. But ultimately, the Giants gave up a lot of sacks to Jackson Dart. And while Jackson Dart got the win for the Giants and they shocked, the NFL world last week, I still think that the Saints defense can generate some pressure, cause some issues for a young quarterback, and that's not an easy stadium to go play at as a rookie. Then you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here at number 15, going up against the Seattle Seahawks. There's a chance that Tampa Bay bumps up a little bit for me here. Tampa Bay's defense has played pretty good this year, and right now their defense against the run is still one of the best, right? So Seattle may have to throw the football here. Tampa Bay is on the road, which is why I don't have them higher than I do, but there's a possibility as the week goes on, they might rise up in the rankings. Then I have the Kansas City Chiefs here against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This was another team I wanted to have higher. They are going on the road, though, in this matchup against the Jaguars. Jaguars didn't allow a sack last week to the 49ers. Chiefs defense is still one of the better units in the NFL, in my opinion. But ultimately, Jaguars are running hot right now, and so I don't want to run into a situation where that offense continues and they don't fall flat on their face. They have had issues turning the football over, though, so that is a possibility. But the Chiefs are on the road. Chiefs may go up too. It's coming a common theme. They might rise up a little bit in the rankings. Then I have the Houston Texans here at 17, taking the Baltimore Ravens. Texans on the road against the Ravens. I know the Ravens had a bad week last week. I don't know if Lamar Jackson is playing. So, of course, if Lamar Jackson's not playing, Texans become likely a top 10 play, maybe high. So keep all of that in mind. I think Lamar does play. I know with Jaden Daniels, I acted as if he wasn't, but Daniels has been out for 2 weeks. I don't know yet with Lamar. I'm operating that he's going to play, but keep in mind that could be a change there as we get throughout the week. So we'll see what happens. And then I have the New York Giants there at 18, going up against the Saints offense that right now, high pace of play. New York Giants defense, though, played good against the Herbert-led Chargers. They are going on the road. I can't put them much higher, though, until we see consistent weeks from them. Then in tier 4, I have the Miami Dolphins here at 19, going up against the Carolina Panthers. They're traveling on the road. Panthers this could be a sneaky one, right? The Miami Dolphins, defense has underperformed this year significantly. They are going on the road, so I don't love that either. And I could see this being almost a coming out party for Carolina's offense a little bit. Not to say they're going to blow their doors out, but I could see that Carolina Panthers offense, having a little bit of a fire under them in that game. Then I have the Washington Commanders here at number 20. Commanders taking on Los Angeles Chargers. Commanders defense has been really, really good this year. It's hard to not have them higher than this, but it's against the Chargers, and I'm not excited to fire them up there. 21, you have the Carolina Panthers. Panthers taking on the Miami Dolphins. That Panthers unit got absolutely throttled last week. I think the Falcons game was a complete blip on the radar. That's what I said. I said it last week. I'm saying it again this week. Panthers defense is one of the worst units in the NFL. So I don't have them higher than this. Even in a matchup where maybe people think Miami is a good matchup, I think Miami's offense is going to start to kind of get a little bit better as the weeks go on and settle in. Dallas Cowboys here at 22 against the New York Jets. Dallas could maybe surprise us, but they just gave up 40 points against a much better Packers offense compared to the Jets. This Dallas team could be a little bit of a sneaky play, but I have them here at 22. San Francisco at 23. They did not make the most of the opportunities against the Jaguars last week. They gave up a special teams touchdown. They didn't have a sack last week. I have them here at 23. No Nick Bosa. This unit could struggle a little bit to generate pressure. Bryce Huff is obviously very good and is having a good year, though, for them. Then I have the Tennessee Titans here to close it out at 24 against the Arizona Cardinals. And, Tennessee's defense is stingy and maybe could make this a little bit of a fight for them. But I mean, the offense putting them in tough spots, not maintaining drives. It's very, very hard to expect that defense is going to, give us a really strong outing, even if it's against again, hot and cold offense in the Arizona Cardinals. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching week 5. Make sure you're liked, you're subscribed, leave a comment in below. I've continued to drop my rankings updates throughout the week on the community page here on YouTube. Send your questions in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.